What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Big Thing. It is Monday. It's a later episode, and there's a lot of good reasons for that, and I'll explain that later. But that's not what we're talking about yet. There's a lot of different things going on, and one of the major things, the big thing, if you will, is that Avatar 2 is now the sixth movie in history to cross the $2 billion mark. Not only that, James Cameron, this is his third film to do so. So put that in your hat. That's not a saying, but put it in your hat anyway. Put it right in there and let it sit there while we marvel, if you will, at the greatness of James Cameron. The Razzies, are they so stupid now that you just get rid of them? Who cares? The nominations came out and a bunch of things, and they nominated a child at this point. It's like, come on, man, give it a rest. And we do this already with Jake Lloyd. There's some Flowers of the Moon is the new Scorsese movie, and I've been wanting to see that for a long time. Apparently, he made some major changes to it, so we'll go over that. The Last of Us is just annihilating ratings, critically, everything. So we'll get into that as well. And then The Skeleton Crew. That's the new Star Wars series. It's apparently wrapped filming. So it looks like we will get that at the end of the year as discussed previously. Those are the major stories that we'll be going over today. There might be a couple other ones that pop up, but those are the major ones that we're going to cover today. So before we get into it, if you're brand new to the channel, you haven't been here before, do me a favor, subscribe. We just hit 64,000 today, man. Trying to get to 65. It's been slower in January, so the fact that we hit 64 is pretty good. We're trying to hit 65 and on the road to 70, which will hopefully be then the road to 100. We're going to jump that big. We're going to jump from 70 to 100 once we hit to 70. That'll be the goals. So if you can subscribe, please do so. A lot of people like to listen to this show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. A lot of Spotify listeners, and I love that. It does help tremendously. People ask if it helps. They say, hey, I don't really watch on YouTube too much. I do a lot of the podcast stuff. Is that okay? It's wonderful. We're very, very aware that there's two separate audiences. There's a video audience and there's an audio audience, and we love that you guys are listening to us on Apple and Spotify. And even if you are listening or watching on YouTube, rather, download us on either Apple Podcasts or follow us on Spotify. It helps tremendously. So please do that. You want to help out the show also, and you want to really show off some cool merch. That's up there. Sith Council, Show Some Class, Big Thing, all of it, that and more. The Black Knight, yeah, that's up there, and it's doing pretty well also. And this one I really love. You don't know shit. It's a good one. It's a good one to wear in public, especially the way the world is today. And last but certainly not least, I got to give a shout out to Carbon Health, sponsoring this episode today. Carbon Health rules, man. You guys know Carbon Health. I've been talking about them for a bit. They've been on this Monday episode for quite a while. They have 120 locations. They handle urgent care, COVID, RSV, flu testing, vaccinations. But what you need to look into is how they're expanding into primary care services, and that includes connected health. If you don't know what connected health is, it's the idea that our health isn't just about our bodies, but also our mind. Carbon Health providers come connected with mental health specialists as well. It's really important. I'm glad that people know that now, and they have been hearing that from me. Carbon Health will be expanding these primary care services, and they have been doing so in 2023. If you're in Massachusetts, you can access the connected care. It is now expanded from California to Massachusetts. Carbon Health is an excellent urgent care and testing center, but don't sleep on their primary care services. Excited to be with them, excited that they're with us, and I'm excited that you are with me here today. We got a lot of exciting things coming up, man, and we'll get into it. All right, it's the big thing. Let's start the show, shall we? Come on. What's up, peeps? Good to have you. Kristian Harloff here with The Big Thing. And man, it's funny. Sometimes when I hear myself talk when I'm by myself, I feel like I've accomplished my dream of becoming Happy Harry Hard-On from Pump Up the Volume. God, I love that movie when I was a kid. And it was so like unrealistic to do that as a kid because there's no podcasting. There's none of that. It was just like beating the FCC, trying to figure out a way to do it. And Harry did it. And I love that movie so much. It's how I learned about Leonard Cohen. There's a lot of different things I learned from that movie. But man, and you get to do it. You get to do it. So anyway, how are you guys? Yeah, you doing well? And I feel like, I say that where I assume that there's some people that maybe finding this for the first time. And if so, welcome. Thank you for joining us. But maybe there's some people who just watch Big Thing. Maybe there's some people who just watch the long form stuff and they don't know. I've got a ton of crap that it's a good way to market your stuff. But ton of crap that I put out. But I've been busy over the last 24 hours. Even though it's been slower in January, I've been busy. Because Last of Us has just been a show that I want to cover and I want to talk about. So I do those immediate reactions as soon as I'm done watching it with my wife, who is watching it. I don't know how much longer she's going to watch it, though. Not because she doesn't like it. I said this in my spoiler review. There's just a particular moment that happens. Don't worry, no spoilers. There's a particular moment that happens at the end of episode 2. And she's like, I don't know if I can keep watching this. And it really disturbed her. So she's like, I don't know, that image. I don't know if I can do it. I was like, all right, well, I got to do it because I'm enjoying the show and I'm covering it. So there you go. I'll be doing that. I'll be watching it. But anyway, I put out a ton of stuff. I did an immediate reaction, got that up. I'll be doing that on Sunday nights. And then the first thing I do on Sunday morning normally is The Last of Us review. And please watch those. If you're watching the show and you watch my stuff, please watch those Last of Us spoiler episodes that I do. I really go through it. I make sure that I put all the images in, and I was editing it this morning and making sure that it was sounding right and all that. And I would love for you, if you're the Last of Us fans and you like my stuff, please check that one out because I'm putting the work in. So I'm hoping that you check it out. But anyway, my point is, on this morning when I came out, my goal was to do the Last of Us spoiler review in the morning and then lead right into the Big Thing that I would probably get up at around like 12 o'clock. But the Dungeons and Dragons trailer dropped this morning. I was like, oh man, the first one did pretty good. People want to see that. People didn't give a shit about that trailer reaction. I was like, oh, okay. But nonetheless, I'm curious about it. I'm curious about that movie. I said, I don't know what, and I know that you guys can tell me in the comments what the hell's going on with, I guess, this Hasbro thing or some shit that I saw it trending, and I don't pay attention to drama anymore on Twitter. I really don't. And I don't know what the hell it is. You can let me know. Those fucking Eminem things happening today too. I'm like, I'm so bored with it all. Whether it's just, like I said, I hate Twitter so much. And it's just like everyone's fighting with each other. There's fucking fights over M&Ms now. I don't even know what's happening. I don't care. You can explain it to me. I don't care. I don't care who's right. I don't care who's wrong. I don't care. I'm just so tired of it. It's just so silly that I hate it. Anyway, I put out Dungeons and Dragons today. That was what I did. I did a reaction to it. I put it out there, and I'm curious about it. I'm curious about that movie. I want to see it. I like the second trailer more so than the first because I think that I understood more into the second trailer of what it is. It feels like Knight's Tale. It feels like it's just kind of a fun, silly movie. And one of the things I said in the trailer reaction is that, and this is going to play into a news story that we have here today. I think that right now, the big games in town when it comes to theater films, right, are obviously the Marvel movies and the DC movies and the Star Wars movies. I mean, but Marvel's right now the king of the castle when it comes to the box office, right? Now you're like, well, wait a minute, aren't you going to talk about Avatar today? So how does that play? Well, this is it. We're talking about mostly. You put out Black Panther, and I didn't like Thor, and I didn't like Doctor Strange too much. They still made money, right? So those are the ones that are kind of making the cash right now. So I think that a movie like John Wick 4, Dungeons and Dragons, Creed, they're all kind of like, yeah, let's have those for theater experiences. Because I saw something the other day, Regal's kind of closing down their doors and doing some stuff, and I was like, and not all over at some places, and I'm like, shouldn't you wait a little bit? I mean, maybe you can't, maybe just hemorrhaging right now, but shouldn't you wait to see? Because I know people aren't going back to the movies for certain movies, but there are certain ones I feel like they're going to go back to. Because there was this whole report by the news guy afterwards of what people wanted to see. And he was older, and I think he was wrong. He was talking about how certain Oscar movies people want to see in the theater because they get nominated and people want to go see it. Casual fans don't give a shit about that. a lot of casual fans. If you're a movie buff, you're a hardcore film fan, and you pay attention to the nominations are coming out tomorrow morning, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna be sitting around. I can't wait to see what's happening. Then yeah, maybe. Oh, that movie got nominated, and everybody's talking about it, and it's finally in my town. I'm gonna go check it out. Yeah, absolutely, that happens. But that's not how you make money. You got to get people like my friend John Pinto to care. You got to get people, you guys know, like those casual fans going, what the hell is that? Oh, I'm not going to see that. I'm going to go see the new Marvel movie. I'm going to see Dune. I'm going to see this. That's what's getting people in the theaters these days. That's why certain Oscar movies don't do well anymore. Smaller movies don't do well anymore in the theaters because the guy accurately said streaming had a big cause, as well as the pandemic, obviously, in the hurting of theater going. And I agree with that. But I think that's also incumbent on the studios to look and say, okay, this ain't 2018 anymore. It ain't 2019 anymore. It's a very different world now. We have to scale down budgets for certain things. We have to scale down budgets even on the bigger movies. They scale down the budgets. We have to definitely think about if we're going to release certain movies in the theater at all, and if we do, sell them to a streaming platform also. It's smaller movies. I understand, and I've come around to, I mean, I was definitely selfishly because of, during the pandemic, I wasn't going to the theater a lot, and I also like watching movies with my family. So when movies were coming out, whether it's King Kong, Godzilla, whatever, the day in the theater and day at home, I was like, I love this. I understand why it's a bad move for the studios in general, but maybe not for everything. Maybe for movies like She Said and other movies that are not going to do big box office numbers, maybe you try to do that. I mean, I guess that the counter to that is, well, then everybody's just going to start blaming it on the fact that it was a day in release. But I just think smaller movies that should absolutely debut, because, and with the understanding, like, it's like going to Vegas. You take $1,000 to Vegas, and you go, I got $1,000. This is everything. What do I do? Am I gonna panic if I lose it? No, take like $400 to Vegas and say, I'm probably gonna lose this. Right? $500. I'm gonna take this to Vegas. $100. I'm gonna lose this. That's what you do. Same way. Gonna put it on HBO Max. Couple theaters, maybe we make some money back in the theater as well. I don't know. What the hell do I know? Anyway. So yeah, man, lots going on. Speaking of box office, let's get into this. This is massive. Avatar 2, The Way of Water. The movie has made $2 billion. $2 billion. Now, I'm one of those people who predicted incorrectly with how much this movie was going to make. I thought it would make a lot of money. I thought it would make a profit. I thought it was going to tap out. I think I said 1.4 to 1.6, I think was somewhere along the lines where I said that's probably where it's going to tap out. And in my reasoning for that was that maybe people aren't going to return the same way, or maybe it's a different time and post-pandemic and blah, 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 blah. And I just thought that 2 billion was just such a hard number to attain. Whether you predicted 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, you were wrong. You were wrong. It made 2 billion, and it hasn't stopped, because the main reason, again, is because this movie has no competition until Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And as we mentioned before, a Marvel film. Those are the types of movies that can do well in the theater. These other movies that are coming out, you got Shyamalan's movie that, again, and even something like, and don't forget, during this time, Megan came out and did very well for what it cost. It cost like $6 million or something ridiculous, and made a shit ton when you look at how, I think it made, I don't know, I think it made $150 million worldwide, Megan. Off a $6 million budget, that's massive. And I'm making those numbers up, but I think I'm somewhere in the ballpark from what I remember on previous reports. But my point is that there are other movies that can tap into this, the little movies that have the smaller budgets, make some money, but they're not going to affect Avatar at all, right? And that's this. That's the Shyamalan movie. That's these other movies that are coming out. Puss in Boots did I guess something. I don't know. Puss in Boots started slow and I think started to build. So I think Puss in Boots did okay. They might say in this report. I don't know. But Ant-Man is the one that will start to hit it in that spot that you go, okay, we're coming close to the end of our run. We'll keep it in for a little bit, but now the end is coming. Plus, it's Disney, and now it used to be Fox versus Disney. Now it's just Disney versus Disney with Avatar. So they're going to let it run until Ant-Man comes in, and then they'll start to put it in less theaters, and it'll probably tap out. The question is, can Avatar make $3 billion? Look, I said no to 2, but I'm going to say definitely no to 3. Now, the counter argument to that is, yeah, but James Cameron put Avatar 1 in the theater like 27 different times to get it to beat Endgame. And I don't understand when people are like, oh, he just couldn't hold back. He had to put it in theaters. And so, yeah, he wants to make money. And he did. So like he there was, Winston was telling me, well, how about Morbius? Morbius, they put back in theaters, and it did shittier than it did shitty. Didn't make any money at all. Avatar keeps making money. It's 13 years old, and it's still making money. The first one when you put it out in theaters. Why wouldn't you put it out in theaters? You should do the same thing with Endgame. But $3 billion at 2 right now, with about a month and a half left to go, maybe 2 months in a theatrical run, as it starts to wind down and slow down, and once Ant-Man comes out, and then you've got John Wick and Dungeons and Dragons. March, it's the end. It's the end. So shit. I don't know. I don't know if it'll make $3 billion. I say no. My number now, and I was wrong with my first number. My number now is $2.4 billion, which is still a shit ton. 2.4, and I'm about $1 billion over what I predicted initially. So $2.4 billion, which is still a big run. $3 billion, no chance. It's not going to be another $1 billion. No freaking way. But $2 billion, and it's already crossed into the fact that this movie is now the third movie that this motherfucker has now done that's made $2 billion is nuts. Titanic 1, Titanic 2, and freaking Titanic. Titanic, Avatar 1, and Avatar 2. All 3 movies have made $2 billion. I mean, don't ever doubt this dude. And he's already shot the third one. It made its money and then some. And the third one's already made money if you look at it in a certain aspect. Crazy. James Cameron's Avatar: The Way of Water has now become only the 6th film in history to cross the $2 billion mark at the worldwide box office. It is the first film in pandemic times to do so, and for Cameron, it is now his 3rd film to achieve it. It is Zoe Saldana's 4th film. How about that? Zoe Saldana has been in 4 films that have made $1 billion. I hope she got some points in those. Disney announced Sunday that the film will finish the weekend with a worldwide of $2.24 billion, with $598 million domestically and $1.4 billion overseas. It hit the $2 billion mark earlier than the first Avatar did, and that film remains the top-grossing film of all time at 2.9. The Way of Water is now only days away from overtaking Star Wars: The Force Awakens and Avengers: Infinity War to rank 4th. It's in its 6th weekend domestically. The film took in $19.7 million. It made $20 million this weekend. Wow. 40% from last weekend. It still had a Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which is second with 11.5. 5th weekend, and Megan, which slid to 3rd with a further $10 million from Megan. The Searching sequel, Missing, a film set entirely on computer screens, debuted in 4th place, 9.3, doing off of a tight $7 million budget. Wow. Yeah. I mean, holy crap, man. It's a juggernaut. And now they're playing with house money with Avatar 3 because they've already shot it. You know, they're going to do some post stuff. I mean, I'm so curious when that comes out in 2024? I'm pretty sure 2024, next year. So they'll be editing it post all this year, and next year they'll put it out, and then we're going to be back in Avatar Land again in about almost 2 years from now, or less than 2 years from now, and we're going to be here all over again. And if this thing, and if the third one makes $1 billion, I mean, come on. Holy shit. It's a crazy story. It really is. Someone the other day, I mean, I mistweeted and said it's the sixth one to make $1 billion. And I meant to put $2 billion. But people were like, well, why does it matter? Because 6 films in the history of film have done it. 6. And this guy has done 3 of them. That means that enough people, why does it matter? Imagine you make a product and you've made 3 products that have made over $2 billion in the theater, $6 billion in the theater alone. And then some, 7, I think the first Avatar was almost 3, right? Nuts. Absolutely nuts. Anyway, it's a crazy story. I'm so curious what you guys think. Throw a comment in there and let me know. Do you think that this is, do you find this story as nuts as I do? Or do you say, yeah, it's happened. Another $2 billion movie will happen pretty soon. I mean, I just think it's, and granted, ticket prices have changed. Things are different. The 3D helps, all of that, but it doesn't change the fact that you still got to get people into the theater. And what I've heard, and we said this beforehand, it's repeat viewing. I mean, I know I've seen it twice. I know a lot of people have seen it twice because it's just the theater. It's the theater experience. All right. Let's, before I move on, I want to tell you about our friends over at MANSCAPED. You guys know how much I love MANSCAPED. I love MANSCAPED. And I've been telling you about MANSCAPED forever. And I'm so excited now that they've got this beard trimmer. It's awesome. It's got the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, it's got the tech behind the Beard Hedger Pro Kit and allows you to shave your signature beard look. You can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com. But you got to use that code. Big thing. Get 20% off. A lot of people send me comments telling me they use these codes, and I'm like, I'm so glad that you are, because there's a reason why we do it. We only get in business with people we think that the audience is going to like and that I want to use. And Manscaped is definitely part of that crew, I'll tell you. You start this all off with the Beard Hedger, and it's a juggernaut, man. And it fixes your face. First off, it's got the cordless trimmer with a rotary wheel. It gives you 20 positions of precision, all with one guard. No more messy drawers full of extra add-ons. Yeah, the face grooming does not need to be hard. You get 20 different lengths in just one guard. The blade is tough on hair, but it's smooth on your face, leading to single stroke efficiency that brings satisfaction one stroke at a time. It's got the beard oil, which is an essential piece for your main facial accessory. No, you don't want to. No one wants to have a guy whose beard is brittle and dry. It's nice. It makes you feel nice. You cap off the kit with the beard balm. It styles, moisturizes, and it tames for a sculpted look to attract any fellow or dame. Get 20% off and free shipping with that code BIGTHING at manscaped.com. 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use that code BIGTHING. Manscaped Beard Hedger. One stroke, one guard, 20 lengths. I got myself a suit today, by the way. I needed to get a suit. It's something I was going to do for myself. I needed to get a suit because I go to these things. I went to that. I don't know if I told you guys or not. I went to this Netflix. They invited me to this party. I think it was like, when the hell was it? Was it the beginning of the year? I think it was the beginning of the year. It was the beginning of the year. And I went and I was there and it was looking like great. Chris Van Vliet, right? I love Chris Van Vliet. He's a really good guy, nice guy. And the guy's, he's just like smooth when he's walking around. He's like, I'm like, look at this guy's suit. I'm walking around with a freaking jacket I've had for like 7 years, 8 years, whatever it is. It's nice enough. I need a suit. So I took the day today, and I did my videos. I did the 2 videos. I did the Dungeons and Dragons thing, and then I did the spoiler for Last of Us. And then I took a little bit of break for myself. And I went with my wife. We had lunch together, and I got myself a suit. And I'll be, I got some weddings coming up that I'm going to go to. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I got that beard trimmer now from Manscaped. Helps me out. Make me feel good. Anyway, so if you want to help yourself out, get yourself some Manscaped. Use that code BIGTHING. I'm telling you. Because a lot of times people, and I say this all the time, you can click the like. You can throw a comment. That helps tremendously. You can subscribe to the channel. You can be a part of the Patreon. You can get a shirt, all that stuff. I always recommend also, If you want to also get something for yourself too, besides the shirt, you can get yourself the MANSCAPED, and it'll benefit you. If you haven't already gotten it, if you already have a kit and you're like, I've got it and I'm going to upgrade eventually, but not right now, and I'm not going to try the beard trimmer yet, although I'd like to, not yet. If you've never had MANSCAPED ever, show a little, just an ounce, and get yourself some MANSCAPED. All right, let's move on. Going to shift. The next one that I want to talk about, to be honest with you, we'll talk about this on Wednesday on Big Things Sith Council, but Skeleton Crew, man. Skeleton Crew was announced, I think when the first time it was announced, I think it was Star Celebration, and then they talked about it at D23. They're really pushing this thing, like, quick. Like, it kind of came out of nowhere, and it's coming up this year. And they talked about that. I mean, I don't know how long they were working on it, but it's moving. Filming has officially wrapped on the upcoming Star Wars Skeleton Crew series for the Disney Plus service, against some Dark Horizons. The show's stunt coordinator, George Cottle, shared a video on his IG celebrating the moment, but the posting was deleted, not before the internet caught it. According to Deadline, the post caption read, "That's a wrap on Skeleton Crew. Once again, I was lucky enough to be surrounded by some of the most amazing stunt performers I've ever worked with, and I felt so lucky to work with all of you. Thank you for all your hard work and dedication. So excited for this one." Stunt actor Julia Porter also reportedly shared on her Instagram stories a message after wrapping saying, "Gonna miss my Star Wars Skeleton Crew stunt family. So grateful. Can't wait for the next world to see what's in store." It was announced in May 2022 with Jude Law leading the cast. From what little is known about the series, it sounds like this franchise version of Star Trek Prodigy, albeit in live action. The story follows a group of kids who are about 10 years old who get lost in the Star Wars universe. However, it's been advised that despite the young leads, it's not a kid's show. This series hails from John Watts, director of the Tom Holland-led Spider-Man trilogy, and the old man, don't forget about that one, and writer Christopher Ford. Events unfold in the same time period as The Mandalorian after Return of the Jedi. All right, so let's talk about this real quick. This show is interesting because it is one of those ones where you're like, well, what the hell is it? And like, we know there's little that we know about it, except like we saw a picture of Jude Law. We know that there's kids in it. We know that it takes place in the same universe as Filoni and Favreau. We know it's in the Favreau-Filoni verse, right? It's in that area, so it's going to play in somehow, and you'll probably see some tie-ins. There's rumors and speculation that it's probably the outer regions for, and I'm not going to go full on, Sith Council with you right now, but like for people who are curious about it, even the casual fans, the outer regions are something, or the unknown regions, the unknown regions are something that hasn't been explored too much. It's been explored in the Star Wars canon novels, but not as much so in the canon of Star Wars. And in Rebels, I think they mentioned that's where Ezra and Thrawn are, and I think that's where Thrawn kind of ends up, and I think that's where the majority of Ahsoka is going to take place. But if you're going to combine it and you're going to make it, all relevant, then chances are if these kids are getting lost, they probably get lost in the unknown regions, one would guess. Now, as far I can also confirm what Dark Horizon says in that when said that even though there's like 10-year-olds, it's not going to be like a kid's show. That is what John Watts told myself, Steph, and Mike Kalinowski directly outside of the hotel at Star Wars Celebration when we saw him. We talked about him and how excited we were, and he had mentioned like Stranger Things. He had mentioned Clone Wars, like the dark moments of the Clone Wars series, and he said that there are kids in it, but it's like it can go into places that those shows did and more. And we were really excited by that because especially after seeing like obviously Spider-Man movies, but if you saw what he did with those first 2 episodes of The Old Man, we were in pretty good hands here. And he seemed really, really excited when he was talking about the show, and he seems really excited about doing Star Wars. So, and I think that he was rumored to do Fantastic Four. Wasn't he not even rumored? Wasn't he attached to something? I can't remember what it was. Whatever it was, he decided he wasn't going to do it. And I think it was because of this. I don't remember what the full thing was, but he was supposed to do more, but he's doing this, and I'm pumped for it. And it's coming out and it's wrapped. Poor bastard who posted about it. And then imagine getting that call. Like there's like 2 sides of it too. If you because there are those people who, and I've been on it from something as small as like the Schmodown, where we have this thing going on and someone posts about it, like, and I got to call somebody, what are you doing? Take that down. We're not even promoting. No, don't do that yet. Don't jump the gun with somebody who doesn't talk to you. Roki used to do all the time. He would post shots and stuff. What are you doing? He's like, oh, I thought because you said this. I'm like, no. But, the Skeleton Crew with this guy on the Raps. Now, there's two ways to look at it. One, he called somebody and said, hey, you think it's cool if I do this? And somebody higher up was like, yeah, it's fine. And the higher up was wrong. And then a phone call comes in. What's this guy doing? One of two things. The guy bites the bullet and says, I told him it was my bad. And then you got to take it down. Or he goes, I don't know what this guy's doing. I never said that. And he's a real scumbag. But we don't know if that's the case. Or you just decide, or the stunt guy was like, didn't check in with anybody and said, oh, I'm going to post this. It's over now. Not paying attention, because not everybody's as clued in to what happens and how, tight-lipped everybody is. Like, there's people, some of these stunt people, you think they watch all this shit and pay attention to it and know about the secret box and all that? Everybody knows that you can't post this stuff on Star Wars and Marvel. You think Clint, the guy who's like wrestling snakes in Arizona in between jobs, gives a shit about posting about Wookiees? He doesn't give a shit. They told him, they're like, hey, Clint, listen, can you take that down? And he said, why don't you come over and tell me that to my face? I had to ask like his friend to do it. Clint ain't fucking around. He doesn't give a shit. Well, we ain't going to hire Clint again. Yeah, tell Clint that. He's sleeping in your backyard and just wrestled 3 bears. He didn't give a shit about posting about Grand Admiral Thrawn. Bitch slap Grand Admiral Thrawn. Don't mess with Clint. Those stunt people are no joke. Anyway. Yeah, it's interesting. It's all interesting. And those 2 stories alone, that's going to be a very popular show. I think it's going to be a very popular show, Skeleton Crew. But if you want to pop into popular shows, man, holy moly. Let's talk about this show. The Last of Us is no joke. It's awesome. It's awesome. And no spoilers. I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody if you haven't had a chance to watch it, so don't get nervous. Like, oh, man, I got to check the time codes because he's going to spoil it. I'm not going to do that. That's why I do my spoilers. There's just so much great stuff happening right now with this show. And I'm going to tell you that the story is first. Again, Garth Franklin over at Dark Horizons. Last weekend's premiere of HBO's series adaptation of The Last of Us launched as the premium cable drama's second most watched series premiere in more than a decade, behind only Game of Thrones spinoff House of the Dragon. Last night's second episode, however, has broken a new record for the channel. According to ratings giant Nielsen, combined with the first-party data from Warner Brothers Discovery, the show's second episode pulled in 5.7 million viewers across linear airings on HBO and streams on HBO Max. That is a 22% increase on last week's episode, breaking 4.7 million in overnight, a number that jumped to 10 million after 2 days of availability. That 22% jump from the initial premiere viewership to second episode debut audience is also, according to HBO, the largest Week 2 audience growth for an HBO original drama series in the history of the network. In addition, the network has revealed that after 1 full week of availability, the first episode is now tracking at 18 million viewers, nearly 4 times its premiere night audience. HBO indicated last night that the Sunday night viewership for an HBO series represents around 20% to 40% of the show's total gross audience per episode. The news comes as the series' success has impacted game sales. The recent remake of the first game, which the first season is based on, saw a 238% spike in sales week on week in the UK, according to Game Industry Biz. In addition, the nearly decade-old PS4 remastered version of the game also re-entered the charts with a 322% sales spike, with the 2 versions of the title coming in at number 20 and number 32, respectively. So yeah, this is a holy shit. This is an Avatar type thing. I mean, it's massive. Listen to this. It's huge. And it's funny. So again, non-spoiler, just so I can repeat myself so people know what I've been doing. I've had that remastered version of the game. I don't even know how long. I'm pretty sure my wife bought it for me years ago for a Christmas present, and she didn't know what the hell she was buying. She walked into a Best Buy or something and said, "I want to buy my husband a video game. What should I get?" And the guy was like, "This one is the most popular thing going right now, and it's been sitting on my shelf forever. And people have been telling me forever to play it." And I was like, it's just a matter of when I can get to it, and I'd like to. And then the trailers came out for the show, and I was like, oh, I love Pedro Pascal, and the trailers look really good. It's an HBO show. I'm probably going to watch it anyway, so maybe I wait to play the game if I ever play the game. So after I watched the first episode, I got to play this game. And not only do I have to play the game because I'm curious about playing the game, I want to see how close it is, because I have been like screaming to the heavens saying, hey, Knights of the Old Republic, Darth Bane novels, Plagueis novels, all this stuff that I would take the novels, adapt it, video games. And I've been saying this forever, video games. It's like, and I did this thing on TikTok, and I did it wherever, and it was video games. They have not been adapted well, and people keep throwing out freaking Sonic, and they're throwing out Arcane, which I love, and they're throwing all these things. I'm not talking about just how properties have been. There have been a few properties that have done well, and I think Super Mario Brothers will do well also. I'm talking about a story that people played all the way through, that they knew and they understood, and then it was adapted correctly, because Assassin's Creed didn't do it. Max Payne didn't do it. There are tons of movies that didn't do it right as far as the story goes. I'm not talking about taking a property and then turn. I mean, it's a major accomplishment with Sonic, and I've watched the Sonic movies. They're really well made movies, but those aren't games. The character is, but that story isn't a game. There's no James Marsden character, unless I'm wrong. The James Marsden character and that whole storyline isn't a story. That's the video game industry. I'm also not saying that doesn't include the fact that there hasn't been a good video game adaptation. A good video game movie. There's a difference between saying there's no video game movies that are good. That's not true. The Pokemon movie was good. Sonic, both movies really good. Arcane, great series. All video game based. I'm talking about adaptation of story. This seems to be the one, and that to me, and people also brought Castlevania. Castlevania, again, another good show based off of a video game. But the story itself, they made their own kind of original story. This, from what I've seen, and I wanted to play the game, I started playing the game after episode 1. And I told myself, this is what I'm going to do. And yet again, why I love the week-to-week thing as opposed to the binge. Because I probably wouldn't do this if it was a full binge. But the week-to-week, it gives me a week in between to play the game and catch up to where I am in the story before I get spoiled, and then I stop. Because I want to see how true it is. I want to see the gameplay. I want to see all that. It also shows me how superior both, and Naughty Dog is also the same people who did Uncharted. It is also very, very clear to me that I love the way that these people make games, because an idiot like me, who is not a major gamer, I used to be a long time ago, I was telling you how that the Jedi Fallen Order, I would just fall off cliffs and I stopped playing. This is, after a while, they give you that same thing. Dum-dum, go underneath the cave, because we want you to finish the story and not be here for 6 months. So, and it's fun, and I'm just engaged in the story. Well, anyway, I can understand why the spike has happened in the video games. I can understand why the spike is happening in general. But it also proves another point of what I was trying to say. I don't know what show it was. It might have been this show. But this is why you can't say things like, and I bring up the Andor situation because it was the one that I got the most. Well, Andor bombed. No, it didn't. Because this is specifically true when it comes to shows with critical acclaim, so much different as compared to films on streaming. If you have something already, if you have a platform that you're subscribed to already, and you're like, I'm done with Star Wars, I'm not going to watch it, and you start hearing, and after about a month, 2 months, and then you hear about whatever it might be. You're reading something, you see something pop up, and Diego Luna's popping up all over the place because of Andor. People are talking about Andor. Your friends say, well, I just watched that show Andor. It's not bad. And you're like, all right, well, I'm subscribed to Disney Plus. I'll give it a shot. And you stick around. That's the reason why a number like Last of Us spikes dramatically. Like Last of Us was a major number last week, and then it did 10 million on the course of between 7 days. And that's what, because you already have HBO Max. Then you hear these. My brother's a perfect example. My brother goes, should I watch The Last of Us? I was like, it's phenomenal. He watched it. I don't even know if he watched it, but he asked me about it. He will watch it, and that will include in that 10 million plus views, or it already has. And that's the difference between, like, as opposed to some movie that comes out that was really good. Doom. Not Doom? No, not Doom. What about Judge Dredd? How that? Doom. Everybody just unsubscribed from me saying Doom was great. Doom was terrible. I don't know how Doom even came into my brain. Doom. Fucking Doom. Hey, you see Doom? Yeah. Rock's in it. He's bad. Yeah. He's a bad guy. Yeah, a little bit like, yeah. Like when he turned from Rocky Maivia. Yeah. But he didn't show up this time. No people's elbow. He's a real scumbag in this one. Go check it out. Yeah, it totally tricked it tricked Carl. He had no fucking idea. He was passed out, but it didn't matter. Yeah. Fucking guy landed in a vial of nacho cheese at the end of the night. That's all I'm saying. Doom. Dredd. It's a fantastic film. Judge Dredd is an awesome, awesome movie. And nobody saw it in the theater. And there's a big word of mouth about it afterwards for people who saw it. They loved it, talked about it, raved about it. Didn't help the box office. Why? Because by the time people started talking about it was way gone, or they caught it on cable. They caught it on streaming. Numbers for that movie on streaming were probably much better. So don't jump when it comes to, particular shows. That's why I also think that it's silly that Netflix pulls stuff so quick. That's just they have so much. But they don't give a thing a room to breathe. Plus, their marketing sucks. But I mean, the numbers for Last of Us is insane. It's insane. The amount of and number two will do. I mean, we're at 6.5 just last night. It'll probably reach 10 and higher over the next 7 days. And it deserves to be. It's a fantastic show, and it's really smart. And like I said, I have my spoiler review up there. What do you guys think? Do you like the show? Are you enjoying the show? Have you? Here's a question. Here's a question. And please, if you've never commented before and you've always you always ask to comment, I never know what to say, I'm going to give you something that I'd like you to respond to, please. So here is my question. If you have watched The Last of Us, right? Are you all caught up? Are you watching it the second it drops, the day that it drops? Do you watch it the next day? Do you watch it 2 days later? Or have you never watched it, and now that people are talking about it a little bit more, and you hearing this thing that you didn't think you were going to watch it, but now you will, or just not for me, not going to watch it? I mean, there's an answer for every side there. So if you can, that's where I need your comment. So go ahead and do that, please. All right, before we go into the next topic, I wanted to tell you about 2 more sponsors. I'm pumped to be working with Green Chef. I don't know if you guys have noticed. No one said anything, but I've been losing weight. Why? I've been taking care of myself. And one of those ways I've been partnered up with Green Chef. Really excited for that. Green Chef, it is a CCOF certified meal kit company. And Green Chef makes eating well easy with plans to fit everyday lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or you're just looking to eat more balanced meals. Green Chef offers a range of recipes to suit your preferences. If you're looking to kickstart a keto diet in the new year, they make it easier than ever to keep a keto diet with a brand new limited-time keto kickoff in 2023. They expanded their menu. You can choose from over 30 recipes weekly. You have the options to mix and match. It's amazing. It's a lot of fun, too. If you crave more servings of a favorite recipe, you can now double the portions in your weekly order, and you can just do it with one click. They offer a 10-minute lunch. Each week's menu includes 2 convenient, low-prep, and nutritious lunch recipes ready in just 10 minutes. There's no cooking required, and it's perfect for when you're on the go or pressed for time at the office. eat well at lunchtime. I'll tell you, that's exactly why, one of the main reasons. I have no time these days. It's hard. You guys know that once I went on my own and I started doing my own thing, it's awesome, it's liberating, it's free, but it's time consuming. And to run into the house and make and have lunches, it's tough. Having it ready, knowing what I'm going to have on this menu, knowing exactly what's right for me to be able to keep up with the diet and make sure that I can still stay healthy. Green Chef has been tremendous. Tremendous. And it's sustainable too, by the way. Their recipe features organic produce, premium proteins, and sustainably sourced ingredients. You can raise your food standards in 2023 and reap the flavor benefits. So, one of the main things you really need to do, you've got to use that code. You got to go to greenchef.com/thing60. It's thing60. Go to greenchef.com/thing60. Why is it 60? Because you get 60% off plus free shipping. It's really great. It is the #1 meal kit for eating well. Facts. Thank you to Green Chef. Help yourself. Help the show. Get yourself some Green Chef. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/bigthing and get on your way to being your best self. I'm so excited that BetterHelp is back. You guys know when we were with SEN, we were doing SEN Live, BetterHelp was with us, and we really were such major fans and so pumped to know that they are coming back to be with Big Thing. If you're at your best, you can do great things. And sometimes life gets you bogged down and you can feel overwhelmed, like you're not showing up in the way that you want to. I can tell you right now that this was the case for me. I've talked about this not too long, about a year ago. I was in that headspace. I was there, and I remember I'll be honest, BetterHelp, and it helped me tremendously. I've talked about it. And it's just you get into that rut. Working with a therapist, it can help you get closer to the best version of you. Because when you feel empowered, you're more prepared to take on everything that life throws at you. It helped me. Be able to talk to somebody, and I've mentioned this in the past. I've been in places when I've decided not to talk to people, and I got myself in trouble from doing it. I didn't talk to anybody. I let things bottle up inside. Don't do it. Because I'm telling you, when you talk to somebody, it helps. It really does help. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, it's flexible, it's affordable, and it's entirely online. You fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and then switch therapists anytime, no additional charge. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can get you there. Visit BetterHelp.com/bigthing today, and you get 10% off your first month. BetterHelp, HELP.com/bigthing. All right, so once again, thank you to both Green Chef and to BetterHelp. Really happy to have them both on board, and that is why I like to tell you guys continuously that as we do this and as we build the show and as you guys are commenting and as we continue to get the word out there, we start to get opportunities to work with people like BetterHelp, like Green Chef, and to introduce them to you. So when you get yourself one of these and use that code for a Big Thing for these sponsors, it doesn't just help out the show and help yourself out. It really does. It does a lot. It's kind of scratching the back of both of us. So thank you guys so very much for doing that. And because of it, we're starting to see more and more success because of it. So thank you very much. All right, let's get to another topic here, because there's a few more that I want to go over. And this is an interesting one. This is the Razzies. Now, if you guys didn't know what the Razzies were, the Razzies are essentially the Oscars for bad movies, right? And they've been around for a long time, really long time. And they just give the worst actor, worst this, worst that. They do it all the time. They've been doing it for a while, and it's been a goof for a long time, right? I'll tell you what, for this year was the first year I decided. I mean, I wasn't doing lists the last couple of years, so I wasn't reviewing stuff as much, but I've stopped doing the Razzie stuff. I mean, the worst of stuff. I just don't see I'll tell you, if I'm looking at something and I think a movie stinks, That movie stinks. The TV show stinks. It stinks. I don't like a certain thing. I don't like it. Worked for you? Good. I didn't like She-Hulk. Like 3 episodes out of it. The rest I thought was a fart fest. But if you loved it, it's amazing. It's great. But I'll say it. But to do a list, and we used to do them all the time. So it's not a matter of me being a hypocrite because we used to do it for schmoes all the time. Absolutely, we used to, for sure. And I'm not telling you I'll never do it again. I'm just telling you right now, the headspace that I'm in, I don't think that. I don't know. I just didn't feel like I wanted to do it to say, hey, your movie stinks. You're like and it's in the top 10 list. If I'm reviewing it, I'll tell you I don't like it or not. But I don't know if I need to go revisit it and again say this is how bad this show was and this is how bad this movie was. Well, anyway, that's what the Razzies do. That's what their business is. So Andrew Dominik's highly contentious Marilyn Monroe's biopic, Blonde. It topped the list of nominees for this year's Razzies, celebrating the year's worst achievements in cinemas. The Ana de Armas-led Blonde scored 8 nominations across the field, including Worst Picture, where it's up against other multiple nominees like Robert Zemeckis' live-action take on Disney's Pinocchio, the Jared Leto Marvel Sony adaptation Morbius, and Machine Gun Kelly's stoner comedy Good Morning. Other nominees this year include Tom Hanks for Tom Parker and Elvis, and then there's a whole bunch of listed nominees in the article. You can look them up. I don't want to go over all of them. The only reason I want to bring this up is because the thing that if you make the lists, and like I said, I'm not going to be a hypocrite saying, "Oh, I can't believe people are making lists." I did it for years with Ellis. I made these lists, and if you make them, great, absolutely. If you want to do, no one should be judged for doing a top 10 worst list. I saw people coming after people for doing top 10 worst lists and stuff too. And it's like, it's been there forever, man. Like I said, I made the choice that I didn't want to do it. However, my big gripe with the Razzies, they should have a little soul. I know that they did it for Jake Lloyd, but they did it for this kid for Firestarter. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm a dad now. I don't know. But if my daughter is in that range of age, and if she worked a job at that age and got a big role, and then for a laugh someone nominated her for worst actress at 13 years old, where she really hasn't had a chance to do anything, fuck them. It's lame. It's lame. You know, you go after Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks will be all right. Tom Hanks will be all right. Ana de Armas will be all right. Is it warranted that they go after him? Whatever. It's your own decision. This is a 13-year-old child. Leave her the fuck alone and stop. Hey, guess who they nominated? Don't do that. Take her off the nominations. It's not going to. But the second vote was like 13 behind. Who cares? Take her off the list. We're not putting a fucking 13-year-old girl on the list. It's really shitty. It's really fucking shitty. And she's 13 years old. And it's, again, yeah, I know it's the dad in me. I get it because I do. The second I was reading the article as I was walking my dog, and I was thinking of my kid, and I'm like, if my kid would be devastated. Well, that's the business she got, and she's 13 years old. Ana de Armas, yeah, it's the business she got into. She'll be okay. Some people nominate her. She'll feel shitty for a little bit, and then she'll roll around in a bed of cash. She'll be okay. 13 years old. Leave her the fuck alone. Anyway, I'm going to get off that high horse for a second. I apologize. Again, that's the dad in me. I just saw that and it pissed me off. It's just lame. I would never even talk. Do the Razzies. Fine. Have the Razzies all day long. It's whatever. People, Razzies should be ended. Fine. Let them do. There's other stupid things that should be ended, but they're going to do their thing. That's fine. But the 13-year-old kid is where I was like, no, that's stupid. I don't like it. I had a friend who wrote for the Razzies. I don't know if he still does, but he did it for a long time. I love him. He presented at it and everything too, and he had a lot of fun. He's a very funny guy and did stuff too. And I don't even know if he's involved in it anymore, but not a big fan of that choice at all. Okay, I got to bring this up. I'm going to bring up this because I think this is relevant to what I was talking about before. And Kevin Feige was asked about comic book movie fatigue, right? And I got to tell you, I loved his answer. I really, really loved his answer when asked about this. All right, so Kevin Feige was asked about superhero fatigue when they were, I guess there was something that someone said, how do you avoid superhero fatigue? And again, this is from Garth Franklin. I'm convinced that Garth Franklin owns Dark Horizons. A study of over 5,000 movie, TV, and gaming fans between the ages of 13 and 54 was conducted by Fandom in November last year and revealed that superhero fatigue had become a real issue. The results indicated over 33% of Marvel fans had gotten fatigued with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is a considerably higher amount than the 20% of fans who said the same thing about the DCEU. Outside of that survey, more generalized talk of superhero fatigue has set in among not just cinephiles but casual moviegoers and could be seen in articles over the way that Top Gun Maverick and Avatar: The Way of Water, two films outside the genre, beat Marvel at the box office in 2022. Speaking with the Movie Business Podcast, Marvel Studios president and Chief Creative Officer Kevin Feige was asked how he tackles the issue of superhero fatigue among moviegoers, especially with Marvel pushing out so much product to cinemas and on streaming. Feige said he's heard these concerns before. Feige says, "I've been at Marvel Studios now for 22 years, over 22 years, and most of us here at Marvel Studios have been around a decade or longer together. From probably my second year at Marvel, people were saying, well, how long is this going to last? Is this fad of comic book movies going to end? I didn't really understand the question because to me, it was akin to saying after Gone with the Wind, well, how many more movies can be made off of novels? Do you think the audience will sour on movies being adapted from books?" Feige goes on to say that just like books, comics can offer a range of stories to keep the genre fresh. There's 80 years of the most interesting, emotional, groundbreaking stories that have been told in the Marvel comics, and it is our great privilege to be able to take what we have and adapt them. I found that if we tell the story right and we adapt them in a way that the audience still, knock on wood, so far is following us along, plus 22 years later, then we can tell all types of movies that share two things. And this is right before Phase 5 comes out. So, all right, I have a lot to say here with this. I agree with his comments in saying that there are tons of stories out there. Tons of stories, and I've always said, I remember saying this on AMC back in the day when this because I remember, to further his point, people have been talking about comic book superhero fatigue for many years. And I remember, again, being on AMC Movie Talk when this came up, and we brought this up. It's a genre, the same way that is it a horror. Are people done with horror movies? Are people done with Are they done? Maybe people have seen so many horror movies back to back to back. They're like, oh man, I'm horror movied out. I can't see any more horror movies. It doesn't make the horror movie go away. It just means that you come back when there's a story you want to see. And it's the same thing with superhero movies. Now, there's a different topic though, where some of those fans, at 33% or whatever that were polled, were they getting tired of what Marvel has been putting out lately? And I think that's a different conversation. It's not superheroes in general. It's that this phase of Marvel was the least enjoyable out of all of them. And I think that's a common thing. Even if you enjoyed it, I think it's hard to argue that it was the weakest out of all the phases that were out there so far. And there are a lot of things out there to catch up on. There are a lot of things that you have to be locked into in order to keep up with it. And it can be overwhelming. And it might not make sense for people. And there are a lot of other things to watch. So you can understand why that would go away. But don't forget that there are a lot of people who are very much locked into this thing and still do go and check it out. Because, yes, Avatar 2 and Top Gun outgrossed some of the movies that were out for Marvel. Marvel had 3 movies, and Black Panther almost did $1 billion. I think it was like 800, whatever it was. And the other movies didn't bomb. They did very well. They just weren't the top getters, because I do think there is merit to, and I said this earlier with my Dungeons and Dragons trailer reaction, there is a strong merit that when you are the only game in town and new games come into town that are exciting, people want to play them. And when Top Gun comes back, you're like, oh, that's fun. And it felt refreshing to see a movie like that, a big movie that wasn't a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie or a DC movie. And that's the same reason Dune, I think, will do really well. Because, yes, it's in the same kind of, fantasy sci-fi, but it's different. And it's the same reason that I bring up this all the time. It's the same reason that Sandra Bullock romantic comedy did well. is because it was a good date movie and it was a place to go to the theater. People are going back to the movies, but you got to give them something they want to watch. And I think that's another reason why Avatar did well, because it was a big budget blockbuster movie that wasn't a Marvel movie. And it's not because people are just getting superhero movied out. We want more than just the scene. I love fucking pizza, but every once in a while I want a burger. You know, it's like I can eat pizza all day long, but eventually, I don't want pizza right now. I want a burger. I want a steak, some chicken. And there should be, and this year there's going to be a lot more in the menu. But guess what? Those pizza slices, Ant-Man, the Marvels, and Guardians, they're all going to do really well. They will all do very well. But John Wick 4 is going to do very well. Dune's going to do very well. Indiana Jones is going to do very well. We remember also that Shang-Chi, Eternals, even though they didn't do great, didn't really, I mean, there weren't a lot of big movies that came out in 2021. Spider-Man. Like, there weren't any other, and Dune. Right, and it did pretty well. So, I don't believe that it is superhero fatigue. I don't. I think Marvel fatigue is real. And I think that in order to, and I also think that Kevin Feige's comments were accurate, and that stories can be told. But I think that they have to also acknowledge that some of the stories that they've told recently haven't hit maybe the way that they wanted to. Even though they've also have made a lot of money. So again, I ask you guys, what do you think? Am I way off base? Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Do you think that there is fatigue? Do you think that once Phase 5, because Phase 5 could prove to say, well, obviously the people who are locked in, they're locked in, and Ant-Man and Guardians and the Marvels proved, and I think it is going to prove that Marvel is they're okay. They're all right. That's my show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you did. I put this also in my reaction today. People have always said I got a stand-up comedy show with Brett coming up. You see the flyer right there on February 13th. And it's at Flappers Comedy Club as we kind of gear up towards the live tours that we're going to do. We're going to try to do a live show with the Big Thing crew. The idea is to do stand-up for the first hour and then the Big Thing show the second hour. We're going to do one of those in LA. We're going to do one in New York, hopefully in June. And then we're going to try to do one in Chicago in like September. That's the goal. So there are still some people who are brand new to the channel, or maybe have been following me for a little bit, didn't even realize I did stand up and that I was a regular at the Comedy Store and I did all that stuff. So not only have I posted a set that I did from last year on the channel, I posted a set recently from like 15 years ago that I did. And that's on this channel too. And there's the video for just the stuff in general. If you have not seen it and didn't know, YouTube didn't alert you, go over there. Let me know that you were watching the show today and you wanted to check it out. And then the link's in there, and I put an iCard in there for you to check it out as well. Okay, so if you haven't subscribed, please do that. Hit that button. Get us to 70,000. We're almost there. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are found. Patreon. Got a lot of great stuff going on Patreon. These one-on-one sessions I've been doing, the Q&As. We just put the rewatch of Ant-Man. That's up there now, too. People have been asking where the rewatches are. They are on Patreon, so go check that out. And certainly, last but not least, you don't know shit, get yourself one of those shirts, Black Knight, or you can get the Big Thing, Sith Council, Capes and Cows.
The Top Gun guy?
The Top Gun guy, all that and more. Thank you guys so very much. Thank you to Carbon Health. Thank you to all of our sponsors here today. We really appreciate you. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow I'm doing Campia's show. I'll be on Campia's show tomorrow. So if you want to check me out over there, I'll be over at John's show. And then I will be back. I think tomorrow I'll probably be covering a lot on John's show, the Oscar nominations for sure, but I'll be covering it on my channel. I will also, whenever this James Gunn announcement comes out, it'll probably be soon. I'm probably there waiting for the Oscar nominations. All right, we'll be doing that. And then obviously Sith Council Wednesday. Thursday is Big Thing with me and Rox and Brett. And then Friday is Capes and Cows. All right, everybody. We'll see you on the flip side. Peace.